Some women seem to bring light with them the very moment they step into a room. Others, well, the light seems to return as soon as they leave. Now, don't misunderstand me. This isn't coming from a place of bitterness, and it isn't about placing blame. This is about clarity. Because if you've been around long enough, and I know you have, you've already witnessed it yourself. Not every person who smiles in your direction is truly your friend, and not every hand you hold is ever meant to hold yours in return. Life's far too short to keep pouring your time, your energy, and your hard-earned peace into women who confuse you, drain you, or leave you second-guessing your worth. Especially the ones who hide behind charm, beauty, or those ever-polished social manners. In today's video, we're going to uncover 6 unmistakable signs, traits of bad women that you simply can't afford to overlook. This isn't about casting judgment, it's about wisdom, about recognizing who actually deserves a place at your table and who's just sitting there to take the bread. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And I'd add to that, it also depends on the company you keep. So let's sharpen that clarity together. Ready? Let's begin. Number 1. She's always the victim. The first trait of a bad woman is one many men don't catch until it's too late. She is always the victim. And I do mean always. Whether it's a stranger at the store, a lifelong friend, or her last 3 ex-husbands, every story somehow paints her as the one who was betrayed, hurt, or wronged. You sit across from her, nodding along as she speaks. You might even feel a bit protective at first. She's convincing, drawing you into vivid stories of unfair treatment, of being misunderstood. And if you're not watching closely, you'll find yourself thinking, maybe she just needs someone who'll finally treat her right. That's the hook. But as time goes on, you start to realize this isn't about healing past wounds. This is about control. I once knew a man, Tom. Good man, steady and kind. He met a woman like this after his divorce. At first, he admired how open she seemed. She told him everything, how her ex deceived her, how her boss held her back, how her family always sided with her sister. He respected her strength. But as the months passed, the stories kept coming. The pattern never changed. Everyone around her had been toxic. Every job ended unfairly. Every friend turned out to be a betrayer. Eventually, Tom found himself pulled into a role he never signed up for. Either the hero, always reassuring her she was right, or the villain whenever he dared to disagree or suggest she take some ownership. And that's where the danger lies. A woman who lives in a state of constant victimhood will never own her part in anything. She'll rewrite every story to match her truth. And if you get too close, you'll be cast in her next chapter as the one who let her down, the one who didn't understand. It's a cycle, and it's exhausting. Stoicism reminds us, we can't control others, only ourselves. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But the woman who clings to being a victim surrenders that power. She lets life toss her around and demands everyone else carry her emotional weight. She will drain your energy, your patience, and eventually, your peace of mind. So what do? You recognize it for what it is. You stop playing the rescuer. You stop taking responsibility for wounds that someone refuses to heal. You remain rooted in reason, not emotion. You show compassion, but you keep your boundaries. And when the stories don't change, you step back, quietly but firmly. Stoic wisdom reminds us, peace is an inside job. And if someone keeps pulling you into chaos, walking away isn't cruel, it's wise. Number 2, she's addicted to drama. The second trait, you'll feel it in your gut even before you see it. She's addicted to drama. I'm not talking about the occasional emotional flare-up we all have. I mean a woman whose life seems like a non-stop stage play, one she's scripting, starring in, and rewriting every hour. When life around her gets too still or too stable, she'll find a way to stir it up. To her, peace is boring. Stability makes her restless. And without even noticing it, you get pulled into her spiral of conflict, confusion, and emotional chaos. The pattern often starts small. Maybe one evening she's upset because you were a little distracted while she talked. Or maybe you didn't reply fast enough to a text, and suddenly it's proof that you're pulling away. What started as a peaceful night ends in an argument you never saw coming. You spend hours trying to explain, apologizing for something that doesn't quite make sense. And by the end of it, You're left exhausted, while she seems oddly energized. That's the thing about people who thrive on drama. It gives them a sense of control. Chaos becomes their comfort zone because it keeps them in the center. Everything and everyone spins around their emotional storms, while the rest of you scramble to keep up. From a Stoic lens, this behavior makes perfect sense. Seneca once said, "An angry man opens his mouth and shuts his eyes." A person addicted to drama isn't after truth or peace. They're chasing a feeling. Power, attention, stimulation. They're ruled by impulse and emotion, not reason. And if you're nearby, you're going to get caught in the crossfire. The real danger? It's easy to get pulled into it. You tell yourself you're helping, that you're calming things down, but you're not. You're just playing a part in her drama, and it chips away at your clarity, your stillness, and your sense of self. You become anxious, reactive, walking on eggshells. And when a man loses his inner stillness, he loses his greatest strength. The solution? Distance. Not always physical at first, but emotional. Step back. Let the waves crash without you trying to hold up the ocean. Watch, but don't engage. As Epictetus taught, we can't control others, only how we respond. And sometimes the wisest response is silence, space, and the refusal to take part in someone else's chaos. You don't owe anyone your sanity. Your role isn't to be a character in someone else's drama. It's to remain steady, rooted, free. Number 3, she controls through guilt. Did you know that guilt is one of the most powerful tools of psychological control? Studies have shown it activates the same parts of the brain that process physical pain. That's why it feels so heavy. That sinking in your chest, that tight knot in your gut. It's real. And some women, the wrong women, know precisely how to pull those strings. The third sign of a bad woman is this. She controls through guilt, not in loud or obvious ways, but subtly, almost surgically, using calculated silence or soft-spoken disappointment to make you second-guess your every choice. At first, you think she's just a little sensitive. Maybe she gets upset when you cancel a dinner to focus on something important at work. Maybe she goes quiet when you suggest needing a bit of time for yourself. You interpret it as vulnerability, and you reassure her. You change your plans, you compromise, and with each shift, you give up small pieces of yourself just to avoid that look in her eyes, that sigh, that feeling of having let someone down. She never has to say the words. Her silence speaks volumes. I thought you cared more. I thought I mattered. You begin to feel like you're constantly failing her. Like no matter how much you do, it's never quite enough. And here's the trap. You don't even realize what's happening until you've already crossed your own boundaries. You're not making choices from conviction anymore. You're reacting, trying to avoid that uncomfortable wave of guilt that hits whenever you choose yourself over her. This is where she keeps control. Guilt becomes her currency, and the more you give in, the more she expects. Not always through arguments, but through tone, moods, and carefully withdrawn affection. Before you know it, you're explaining yourself more than living your truth, turning into a version of yourself she crafted, not the man you truly are. Stoic philosophy has a clear answer for this. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And there it is. The moment guilt becomes your compass, freedom slips away. Guilt fogs up your vision. It pulls you into a loop of pleasing and proving, where your values and sense of self dissolve. But the way out isn't through confrontation or resistance. It's through calm, unwavering boundaries. You give what you choose to give, not because you're afraid of her reaction, but because it aligns with who you are. And when she tries to summon guilt like a spell, you stay still, grounded, unaffected. A man who stands firm in his truth cannot be manipulated by guilt. That's real freedom. And no one, not even the woman closest to your heart, can take that from you. Unless, of course, you hand it over. Number 4. She lacks empathy. The fourth sign will often reveal itself when life throws a hard curve. She lacks empathy. And if you've lived long enough, you know one thing to be absolutely true. Life will take a turn. Maybe someone close to you passes. Maybe your health dips. Maybe your business struggles. In those moments, when everything falls quiet and heavy, you find out who's really standing in your corner. A woman who lacks empathy? She won't be there. Or if she is, it'll be out of obligation, not genuine care. You'll notice it in small, subtle moments at first. Maybe you tell her you've been feeling drained after a long week, and she barely looks up from her phone before shifting the conversation back to her day. Maybe you open up something personal, something that required courage, and she brushes it off like it was nothing more than background noise. You'll feel it, not just that she doesn't understand, but that she doesn't want to. A man I respect once told me about a woman he dated after his wife had passed. In the beginning, she seemed supportive. But when the real weight of grief settled in, when he needed someone to simply sit with him, be present, and let the silence say enough, she grew restless. She couldn't sit with discomfort, couldn't hold space for anything that wasn't about her. She tried to change the subject, offer shallow reassurances, and eventually shift the conversation right back to herself, her issues, her plans, her life. In time, he realized something painfully clear. He was lonelier with her beside him than he had been alone. That's when we turn to Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." But let's add to that, waste no more time hoping someone will become what they're not. Empathy isn't something you can coach into someone. It either lives within them or it doesn't. And when it's absent, you'll feel the gap down to your bones. An empathetic partner doesn't need to have all the answers. She doesn't even need to speak much. Her presence, calm and sincere, simply tells you you're not alone. But a woman without empathy? She can sit right next to you, and you'll feel like she's 1,000 miles away. If you catch yourself making excuses for why she's distant when you need her most, pause. Pay attention to that feeling. Stoicism teaches us to accept things as they are, not as we wish they would be. And if she can't meet you with compassion during your lowest moments, she won't be there for the storms yet to come. The solution isn't to beg for more. It's to choose differently. Walk away. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because your life is too sacred to spend with someone who listens with her ears, but never with her heart. Number 5. She's obsessed with superficial things. The fifth sign is one that often goes unnoticed in the beginning, but over time, it will quietly, steadily drain the life right out of you. She's obsessed with superficial things. And not in a casual, harmless way. This is a woman who measures the value of life by appearances. By how big the house is, how expensive the shoes are, how many people are liking, watching, or clapping for whatever it is she's doing. The things that don't carry real weight, to her, they mean everything. Her self-worth is tied not to who she is, but to what she can show off. And at first you might dismiss it. What's wrong with liking nice things? Nothing on its own. But when you look closer, you'll realize it's not about the things. It's about what they represent to her. Status, approval, power, a kind of superiority she feels she needs in order to be someone. She doesn't just measure herself by these things, she measures you too, what you drive, what you earn, who notices you. And suddenly, without realizing it, you're no longer a partner in her life. You're a participant in an ongoing competition, one you never signed up for, and one you can never truly win. Whether you make 6 figures or 7, whether your car is practical or high-end, it's never quite enough. Because someone else out there always has more. And she's always watching, comparing, climbing, looking for the next shiny rung on the ladder. The Stoics saw this coming long before our time. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Yet a woman obsessed with appearances and status, her wants never end. Even when she gets what she thinks she wanted, it only fuels the hunger for more. It's like pouring water into a jar with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you give, it leaks away just as quickly. She's trapped in the cycle of chasing externals. And if you stay with her, if you link your life to hers, you'll be pulled into that chase too. But here's the truth. What Stoicism teaches us clearly, externals are indifferent. Marcus Aurelius called them things indifferent, meaning they don't add to or subtract from your value as a human being. They're neutral. They pass. What truly matters is your character, your virtue, the principles you live by, the man you are when no one's watching. But a woman who can't see beyond the surface will never be able to recognize what's good and solid within you. She'll only notice what glitters. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." And that's the heart of it. The woman obsessed with the superficial is the poorest kind of partner, because contentment is forever just out of reach for her. And peace, the one thing a Stoic man protects above all else, will never be found by her side. So if you find yourself with someone who's constantly chasing image over substance, remember this: you will lose yourself trying to keep up. Your energy, your sense of dignity, your inner calm, it will all be spent chasing illusions. But the solution, while not always easy, is simple. You walk away. Not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. Because a man who values his peace understands that sometimes, in order to live deeply, he must let go of a shallow life. Number 6. She can't admit she's wrong. The sixth sign is one that reveals itself in the quiet moments, the little disagreements that, somehow, always turn into something much bigger than they needed to be. She can't admit she's wrong. Not ever. You could lay out every fact, speak with calm, clear logic, even show proof that's so obvious a child could understand it. Still, she'll twist the situation, shift the focus, and rewrite the script just to protect her sense of being right. And if she can't win on logic, she'll change the battlefield. Suddenly, it's no longer about what was said or what happened. It becomes about how you're making her feel. How you always do this, how you're attacking her character. The original issue disappears beneath a wave of emotional misdirection. At first, you might write it off. Maybe it's just pride or a bad day. But if you stay long enough, you'll notice. It's a pattern. She simply cannot own her part, no matter how small. And the reason runs deeper than just being stubborn. Psychologically, people who refuse to admit fault often do so because they're fragile inside. Their identity is brittle. To admit wrongdoing feels like tearing at the foundation of who they are. So they defend, deflect, and deny at all costs. But in doing so, they sacrifice something far greater than being right. They sacrifice growth, connection, trust. Because when a person can't admit a mistake, they can't learn. And when they can't learn, they can't evolve. And that means the relationship too becomes stuck, frozen in a cycle of defensiveness, blame, and emotional warfare. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." That's the mindset of wisdom. Correction is not humiliation, it's transformation. But a woman who refuses to admit she's wrong lives by a different code. For her, being right is survival. And if you challenge that, you become the threat. You'll find yourself always walking the fine line, careful not to say too much, to push too hard, or to speak too clearly. You'll always be the one trying to keep the peace, which is just another way of saying you're the one carrying the emotional burden for both of you. And that weight, over time, it erodes your strength. The relationship becomes less about love and more about managing her reactions. But here's the great irony. In trying to win every argument, she loses what matters most: intimacy, mutual respect, and the honesty that makes love real. So what do? You choose humility for yourself, you choose truth, and you choose a partner who's willing to do the same. Not because she's perfect, but because she's willing to be imperfect, and brave enough to admit it. Without that humility, there is no relationship, only a competition. And life is far too short to spend it keeping score. Seneca said, "Only time can heal what reason cannot." But in a relationship where reason is never allowed into the conversation, time doesn't heal. It only deepens the wound. The solution? Seek someone who sees the words "I was wrong" not as weakness, but as one of the highest forms of strength. And if she can't offer that, then it's time to walk away. Not out of anger, but out of love for yourself and for the life of clarity and peace you're building. Number 7. She disrespects your time. If life has taught us anything by now, it's that time is the one thing we can never get back. You can earn more money, you can rebuild your health, but time, once it's gone, it's gone. And that's why a woman who disrespects your time isn't just careless. She's a threat to your peace of mind. And if you're not careful, she'll steal years from you, quietly, subtly, until one day you look back and wonder where it all went. I remember a man named Richard, someone I worked with back in Houston. Mid-50s, contractor, sharp, reliable, one of those men who built everything he had with his own 2 hands. In business, he was disciplined, respected, but in his personal life, that was another story. He had started dating a woman named Elise. At first, she seemed like a dream, charming, affectionate, beautiful. She made him feel seen, wanted. But there was a pattern. She was always late, 20 minutes, then 40. She canceled plans last minute, always had an excuse. Sometimes she didn't show at all. Richard, being the patient man he was, let it slide. Life happens, he figured. We've all been there. But weeks turned into months, and he found himself shifting his schedule to fit hers. Delaying trips, canceling weekends with old friends because Elise said she wanted to see him, only to cancel last minute without a second thought. I'll never forget sitting across from him one Friday afternoon, watching him stare at his phone. She'd stood him up again. He just shook his head and said, "Man, I feel like I'm always waiting." That's what it does. When someone disrespects your time, they don't just keep you physically waiting, they keep you emotionally stuck. They leave you hanging, not just in restaurants or phone calls, but in your heart and in your life. And if you're not careful, they'll convince you that you're the one who needs to be more understanding, that this is just how relationships are now. But a Stoic man knows better. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." That's the truth Richard came to face. Elise wasn't just flaky, she was indifferent to his life. Because time is life. When someone disregards your time, they're telling you, in the clearest, rawest way, that your life doesn't matter to them. Not really. And the answer? It isn't rage, it isn't begging, it's stillness. It's walking away calmly and permanently. Because a man who values his time doesn't waste it waiting to be chosen. He chooses how to spend his days, where to give his energy, and most importantly, who gets access to his presence. A woman who truly respects you will honor your time, not just with words, but with consistency, with action. You don't owe unlimited patience to someone who treats your minutes like spare change. You owe yourself a life where your time is respected, your presence is valued, and your calendar is a reflection of mutual care, not manipulation. Because once time is gone, no apology can bring it back. So there you have it. 7 signs that, when seen clearly and early, can protect not only your peace, but your purpose as a man walking the path of reason, strength, and self-respect. This isn't about resentment. It's not about labeling or judging. It's about seeing the truth, without the fog of charm, excuses, or hope that someone will one day become who they're not willing to be today. Because life, in all its uncertainty and beauty, is far too short to spend with someone who confuses your clarity, drains your energy, or distracts you from becoming the man you're meant to be. You don't need perfect people in your life, but you do need honest ones, steady ones, people who show up, who take ownership, who offer peace instead of chaos. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." I'd add, your soul also becomes shaped by the company you keep. So choose wisely, guard your time, protect your peace, and above all, stay true to the values that build a good life, even when it's hard. If this message spoke to you, I invite you to reflect, quietly, honestly, on the relationships in your life. Are they adding to your strength or slowly eroding it? Now share your thoughts, your story, or just type "I'm choosing peace" to let me know you've finished this session. Your voice helps build this community, one built not on noise, but on wisdom. Join me in this journey of truth, clarity, and inner strength. I'll leave 2 more videos here for you, tools to help you keep growing, keep learning, and above all, keep walking forward with calm confidence. Stay grounded, stay sharp, stay free. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.